I am so obsessed. I want to choke down on the I need a mechanic. Una make I see one day. Give my love one to see. Make it bad man
Hello. So, welcome back to another episode of Lunchin with Lysa. We're excited about tonight. We're excited every Thursday that we come live, but we're extra excited again to have a wonderful guest. But before we get started and introduce you to our guest, I wanted to actually just kind of shout out everybody for birthdays that are happening, not just today, but this month. I think it's Virgo season, if I'm not mistaken, but happy birthday to all those people. You all know I love to celebrate and I make a big deal out of mine. So here's to all of you all celebrating your birthdays. Also wanted to say happy anniversary to everyone who's celebrating love out there. I am a mushy gushy person. So congratulations to all of you celebrating anniversaries. I've seen quite a few this week. And I wanted to do a special shout out. If you all don't know, this week I was kind of tied up in helping my daughter to have her wedding this weekend. She got married on Saturday, so she is now a Mrs. So congratulations. Mr. and Mrs. Robinson. They are having a wonderful time, St. Lucia or somewhere over in the Caribbean, enjoying life, living their best life, as they would say. But I wanted to wish them well. And I also wanted to do a special shout out to Prince DeJour. He did a shout out to them on the radio on, I think it was Sunday. They loved it. Thank you so much. That was just absolutely awesome. She was showing her ring and like, oh, look. So thank you so much. But yeah, I'm happy for them. The wedding was absolutely beautiful. So congratulations to them. I can't remember, Sharifa, you might have to help me out. I wanted to actually thank everybody for tuning in to Lunchin with Lysa every Thursday. You all know that you can actually catch us live on Facebook and on YouTube, but you can also catch us over on the podcast platforms, Google Podcasts. There's a whole list of them. We're there. If you look at the bottom, you can check out where we are: Google Podcasts, RadioCast, Apple Podcasts. So you can go check out the show over there too. So there are no excuses on why you should be missing Lunchin with Lysa, because you can be riding down in your car and listening to Lunchin with Lysa. But thank you all for supporting us. This is our season 3. And we're excited to get started. So without further ado, I wanted to introduce you to our guest of the evening. And I know you all probably saw some of the promo where we were sharing a little bit about our guests. So the first thing is that here's a Lysa that's with me. So I have to give a special shout out to the Lysas of the world. There's something about us, Lysa. So yeah, we are double teaming them today, Lysa. But I wanted to share just a little bit, and then we're going to let Lysa kind of tell you about what's going on with her. So I wanted to share, she's a native, and let me know if I say something incorrectly. She's a native of Grenada, West Indies, the island of spice. Lysa Phillips wears many hats. She's mother, entrepreneur, author, public speaker, and a woman of God. Her most cherished title is mother. Raising her 3 children, who are now thriving young adults, has been her greatest accomplishment. Lysa holds a Bachelor of Business Administration and Marketing and a minor in Human Resources, and she's the owner of LPS Marketing Designs, LLC, which we will talk a little bit about before we leave here today. Over the course of her life, Lysa has endured numerous trials and tribulations, one of which would alter her life forever. She was diagnosed with lupus in 2003, an autoimmune condition affecting more than 1.5 million people nationwide. However, like countless other God-fearing strong women who have endured and overcome adversities, Lysa continues to persevere as she welcomes all opportunities and tackles life challenges head on. Today, what we're going to talk about, in addition to some other things that Lysa has going on, is a book that she has where I have a copy of the book here. We're going to talk a little bit about it. But it's the title is He Answered the Call: Coping with Our Loss, the Families, Friends, and Firefighters' Perspectives. This is about DC firefighter Anthony Sean Sauce Phillips, and it's the fire on Cherry Road. So I'm hoping that we get some people who are firefighters, people who are serving the community out here to kind of join us and have this great conversation. Lysa gets into a lot of different areas that sometimes I can kind of consider the topics a little untouchable or scary. And I'll bring that up as we talk a little bit about it. There's a couple of points I wanted to point out that I saw within the book. But we're also going to have a giveaway, and we're going to give away 2 of Lysa's books. So this is the teacher and me talking. Please pay attention and listen, because you never know what you're going to have to know. What Lysa might have said or I said that will win you a copy of this wonderful book. So, Lysa, the first thing I wanted to do is ask you about why you chose to write this book. This is a very inspirational book, but you have a lot of other information in here that is good conversation. So tell us why this book.
Well, Lysa, it's 23 years since my late husband passed away. And literally from maybe a few years after he passed, Lord had been weighing on my spirit to write the book. But sometimes we listen and we just kind of ignore, and then back in 2017, and sometimes we don't know why things happen the way they do. I was working for a healthcare organization for more than 13 years. The organization kind of folded. I mean, it's still operating, but they actually got rid of many of their departments. So my department was eliminated, as many others. So that gave me some time to think about what I really wanted to do after that point. I took about a year, and I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and take time to write this book. And I guess it was the right time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I knew the 20th anniversary was coming up. So I wanted to put this book out on and release it on the anniversary, in which I did. And I'm so grateful to the DC Fire and EMS and the union for helping me through that process as far as the launch and everything else, the advertising and so on and so forth. So this was the opportunity for me.
Mm-hmm.
I sat and wrote this book in about 8 months.
Okay.
In about 8 months. And I wanted to do it not just to honor my late husband on that anniversary, but it was time for me to, I guess, tell my story, tell the story about who Anthony Sean Sauce Phillips was. And so I just, I said, let me do this. I can do this. And I did. But the reason I also wanted to do it was because there are so many of the firefighters who were there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And also the brothers and sisters that he worked with at Engine 10, which was at that time the busiest engine company in the nation. And I know that it had impacted them quite a bit as well. And so I wanted to talk to them to see how it affected them professionally,
mm-hmm.
as well as personally. And of course, the family and the friends, I wanted to get their perspective as well. Our church family at the time, I wanted to, because my late husband was a significant part of the church at that time. It was actually the church he grew up in. And so I wanted to kind of share everybody's love for him,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing how impactful the tragedy was. And of course, it was not just my husband that passed away, but also another member of the department, Louis Matthews. He was from Engine 26. There were several who was burnt, And then there was Joe Morgan, who was severely burned, and to God be the glory, he's doing extremely well now. But I wanted to kind of learn more
Mm-hmm.
about the tragedy, and which I was able to get a lot of information from individuals who were there, as well as it was also, I guess, a sense of trying to get closure,
Right.
you know, because throughout those years of grief and not fully understanding the reason why it hasn't happened,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and the way it did, it was just an opportunity for me to say, you know what, I need to learn more. I need to understand. I need to get this off, help me through my grieving process. And not just for me, but our sons as well,
Right. Right.
um, who at the time was 6 years old, the oldest,
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Jr., and my other son was Arzel, was 21 months.
Right.
Um, so it was great for them also because they had a short life with their dad
Mm-hmm.
being here. And some of the things that I wrote in that book, it was new for them.
Okay.
So they learned quite a bit about their dad, even though throughout, their life, pictures and, stories and so on. But it was good for them also. So, so yeah, I mean, and so it literally lifted a lot off of my shoulders when I completed that book, Lisa.
I could imagine. I mean, and you actually bring a different perspective. I think a lot of times when those kind of things happen, we forget about what the families go through, what the friends go through, what the co-authors go through.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I think I haven't heard of a book that really shares the journey of a firefighter or a police officer or something from the wife's perspective. And you having young children, being young yourself, and having to deal with this huge trauma. um it probably was very therapeutic to start to learn, and that's why I like some of the things that we'll talk about that you mentioned in the book, because you dealt with things that nobody has to deal with at those ages, and you had to deal with all of it all at the same time with two young babies. And this is a true legacy project, which I know Sharon is on the live too, because this is actually giving them kind of a story of who their dad was.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And they were so young that they didn't know, but you captured all of this so they get the whole picture and not just the sadness.
Right.
And the loss.
Right.
So I like that you talk about the perspectives of the families and of the friends, and that you are still having a great relationship with them. And it's not just this happens and now I've gone off to do my own thing, and you don't talk. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, what I wanted you to talk about, I noticed and wanted you, I haven't been able to read thoroughly, which I will do. But you mentioned something about him initially having to deal with racism, or those issues of not feeling, first coming in bubbly everything, and then
Right.
feeling some kind of thing going on. We don't talk about that a lot. And you also talk about the things that you had to do to prepare,
Mhm.
that nobody wants to talk about, nobody wants to do. And I like that you put that in there too, so we can talk a little bit about that, because that's stuff that we need to talk about.
Right. Well, Tony and I met when I was 16 years old. So we started very young. Of course, he was about 4 years older than I was, but he went to my prom. I mean, we grew together. And when I met him, he, said that he was waiting to get into the fire department. Like,
Okay.
what do you mean you're waiting to get into the fire department? It's like, well, I took the exam and I'm waiting. I'm like, okay. So in the meantime, he's waiting and he's working these little odd jobs here and there. And after I graduated high school, I had a scholarship to the University of Maryland. And it was an opportunity. Of course, it was a program where I would work full time and go to school at night.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and throughout our little, boyfriend girlfriend, relationship, something happened where I got pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and and then here come our first son,
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Jr. And the interesting thing about it is that when I shared with him that I was pregnant, as a 19-year-old, it's like, what am I going to do? I can't have a child. I got to go to school. I can't, this. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. This man said to me, "You are having my son." I'm like, what? Doesn't matter. You're having my son. I'm like, okay. So hey, all right. So we went through the process, of course, pregnancy, and um, the day of our oldest son's birth, he had the name Arzel Shamar Phillips for his firstborn, which is the name of our secondborn. And I
Okay.
said to him, I said, there's no junior in our family. Let's let's have a junior. Let's make him a junior. So he agreed, and to this day, the name fit perfectly. I am so serious. The name Anthony Sean Phillips Jr. fit for his father. I mean, just completely his father. Arzel, on the other hand, because I told him, I said, we'll save Arzel for our second born. And hey, we got a second born. Here he is, Arzel. And Arzel is another me, right? So, but so yeah, and he's waiting. Tony was born and bred in DC. He
Okay.
went to high school, and DC was everything to him. From the Go-Go's to everything. He lived off of Eastern Avenue, and
Yes. Okay.
and so when he finally, it took him 7 years to finally get into the department. He was excited about that. He got into it, and so he went full force. He was, and he went through the academy, graduated, and he wanted to be a member of Engine 10 because at the time, Engine 10 was known to be the engine companies you would want to go to because of you will learn more, you get more, there's more runs, there's more this, and there's more that. And he wanted to be a part of that. So,
Right.
and he was assigned to Engine 10. Um, Throughout the years, one of the things that he really never wanted to always talk about was the job. And I know being a firefighter, and at that time, when you're young, you think, oh, it's just a job. It's, you don't think of the dangers that actually goes along with that. And us being young, it's just like, okay, well, you finally got in, you're good. But over time, I would hear him make comments sometimes about, they're not treating our people right, and so on and so forth. Even though he loved what he did, he loved his job, but there were things that were concerning to him. And there were others that he shared his opinions with, who pretty much kind of felt somewhat similar. Um, and so those are the things that he didn't bring that too much of that home to me.
Okay.
But he did, have a little concern in that area, although he did all that he had to do to fulfill his job, and no matter what, but he just tried to deal with it. To the point one day he came home with a book. It was a Malcolm X book, a Martin Luther King book. I'm like, what is? It was teaching him how to deal with conflicts in a manner of respect and honor and so on. So he was getting educated through those books. And but even though he saw some of this happening, it still didn't deter him from doing his job.
Absolutely. And him being so young, and having the wherewithal to say, okay, so this is real life. And
Right.
sometimes you encounter things that, are not good, but you got to deal with it on the job. So how do I find a way to continue to do what I absolutely love to do,
Right.
and do it in a professional way where, I keep my job, I keep my sanity, and we learn to, just get along, because you're not going to always, like everything that happens on the job. I like that touch, because I guess we just don't get into those conversations. And I can see
Right.
why you didn't want to bring that home, because there's enough with the dangers of the job to talk about those kind of things too. So I
Right.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
get it.
he overcame a lot of that because even though that was important to him, but the job was most important. And, so he did what he had to do, and he enjoyed doing it. That was one thing. He always wanted to be a firefighter, and when he finally got in, it was like, thank you God, and it was his calling.
Hmm.
We believe it was his calling. There was nothing. The conversations were only about firefighting for him. It was all about firefighting, and he enjoyed. He enjoyed it.
And is that where the title came from? That he answered the call?
He answered the call,
Hmm.
um, and it's kind of a context from just the whole aspect, firefighting aspect. Yeah, he answered the call, and when I decided to write this book, I just didn't want to give my story. I didn't just want to share my perspective. I
Hmm.
wanted to include, like it says, the family, the friends, and most of all, the firefighters, because
Absolutely.
these were men and women that he spent majority of his time with, and they build that brotherhood. you
Hmm.
know so I wanted to get their perspective. I wanted to understand what it was like working with him, what it and how his death impacted them, because Lisa, this tragedy was what was shared with me was that this was a routine call,
Mm.
and I give great honor to Joe Morgan. He is the firefighter from Engine 26 who survived this. This
Hmm.
is the one that was burned about 60% of his body. Because he shared with me sort of kind of play by play of what was happening in that house when Tony passed away. Um, and it gave me a visual.
Hmm.
It wasn't a really good visual, of course, but it did, and I was able to understand and, in a sense, know exactly what happened and how it happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
to the where when I was writing the book, I literally went back to that home. I had out of since Tony passed away in 1999, I had never been over in that area. But when I
Really?
decided to write the book, I went and I knocked on that door. I sat in the parking lot for about 20 minutes, and I went and knocked on the door, thinking that it was going to be the original owner. However, it wasn't the original owner.
Okay.
The house was completely renovated,
Hmm.
and there was a new owner. And when I knocked on the door, he immediately he knew who I was,
Really?
and yeah, he had met me before, he said, and with all of the media coverage and everything that was happening around that time. So he opened the door, and at least I stepped back because it was a traumatic experience,
Absolutely.
and I felt, I wouldn't say fear, but it was a feeling that came upon me, and it's like I got numb. And he told me, he said, "Come on in, come on in." And even though the home was completely renovated, but he showed me the areas of the home that were affected. He showed me exactly where my husband's body laid.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it, it 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 was difficult. It
I
was very,
I
very.
could imagine. Well, I can't imagine. But the bravery it took to be able to handle that,
Yeah,
to be able to tell the story. I was thinking about it when you said that the survivor was able to share that with you because a lot of people don't get that.
right. Yeah, I believe my husband was a saved man. Lewis
Hmm.
Matt, the other firefighter who passed away, was saved. One of the things that Joe Morgan shared on one of his podcasts was that he wasn't saved.
Hmm.
These two individuals were saved, but he wasn't.
Wow.
So I got from that God gave him the opportunity to live so
Mm.
that he can get right with God. And then for him to be able to tell the story also, and so I give great respect to him
Mm-hmm.
because for him to have gone through so much and suffering through this and still able to share,
Mm-hmm.
it meant a lot to me. And I
What a
know,
testimony.
yeah, it meant a lot to me, and I truly, truly give him honor for that.
Wow. That's there's a lot with just you mentioning that and how things happen. Um and I do agree with you that that's the opportunity he gets to see, to understand the saved and understand why they chose, that direction. Because sometimes, we gain, people to cross over because of that.
Mhm.
Because they see, okay, this is what it's been about.
Right,
Um, yeah, and that's why I'm so fascinated with the story, and that this was a legacy like DC. This was DC. So there are a lot of people that probably saw the story, they couldn't connect the dots because they didn't know who
right,
it was. But every time you hear that kind of loss, everybody just mourns it. So to be able to kind of capture that moment, because people have questions all the time, like what happened? They never know the story, and you're able to actually tell the story from not just your eyes, but from those who were with him,
right.
those who were affected afterwards. So, what I want to do is take a commercial break, and then we're going to come back and kind of talk about how you handled the loss, because you're able to now help people with how to deal with that kind of loss, not just any loss, but those that have husbands and wives who are firefighters and police officers,
Right.
and we sometimes feel forgotten, like nobody's thinking about how we get through once this is over. So let's
Exactly.
come back and talk about that. We're going to take a commercial break, and we
Okay.
will be right back.
All
Evil
right.
Empire, laughing all the way to the bank.
Blackpink in your area.
Evil Empire, laughing all the way to the
So you all, if you're not doing anything on Saturday, Sharon Parker, who's on the live, Sharon, feel free to let them know where to get the tickets. But get your tickets and come out and celebrate. Sharon actually has a Rosa event every year, and it's about legacy, Lisa. It's about actually bridging the gap between our young people and our elderly people, our baby boomers, our millennials, and we talk about legacy. We remember where we came from,
Mhm.
and we talk about amazing things that people out here doing to still move legacy. And this book is an example of that. So if you all want to go out and support Sharon, I will be there. And it will be on Saturday, I think 5 to 10, but you can buy the tickets. Not only will we be talking about legacy, but there's also a comedy show, Laughing Lenny. If you all have heard of him, he will be there. It will be awesome. A couple of other comedians from Comic View and Comedy Central and things like that. So please reach out to Sharon, find out how to get your tickets on Eventbrite. I think it's Laughing All the Way to the Bank on Eventbrite, but Sharon put the link in the live for us. So check Sharon out. We're going to go and enjoy. We hope to see you there. Thank you so much, Sharon, because this is some synergy. So I'm hoping that maybe Lisa, you and Sharon can connect, because this is what Sharon's platform is all about, legacy and synergy. So definitely hope you all can connect. But
Okay.
share it with us a little bit, because I think having conversations like this and helping those through this kind of loss is a really huge opportunity.
Yeah.
So how did you get through this? What helped you besides this book, of course?
I'm still getting through it.
Right.
Grief is ongoing. You never heal from grief. From a loss. However, you learn how to cope as each day goes by. And one of the important things is having people in your life that can support you, having people that are there to listen to you, that you have a shoulder to cry on when you're feeling, when that person comes back to your mind, you're able to, share it with someone and, talk about the good things and the memories and so on and so forth. Um, yeah, and the 23 years later, I mean, it still hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there are times when I have, I could just be sitting around just, and he'll just pop in my mind or something about him or something that we've done or whatever the case, and it'll pop in my mind. I was watching a movie a while ago, and it was uh, related to an army veteran.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, a veteran that died in the line of duty, and it just triggered
Right.
me. And I wasn't good for the rest of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
I left and I went to the cemetery. I just went and sat there for maybe about an hour
Mm-hmm.
because I just needed that. I just needed that time. And like I said, anything can trigger it. I
Right.
mean, it may not be a daily thought, or you may not, you know, feel sad every moment or every day, but 23 years later, it's still a process for me. But one of the, like I said, one of the things is having people there, having support, and having our children there. It helps. Oh my gosh, tremendously because I look at them, and not just that I see him in them, but when
Mm-hmm.
I look at them, it gives me gratitude because they were so young and they're now 30 and 25.
Okay.
The oldest one now, Anthony Jr., is now a firefighter in Arlington County and
Okay.
follow his footsteps going through paramedic school, and it's just an amazing thing. And then our Arzell is ready to graduate from Bowie State this fall. And so when I look at them,
Mm-hmm.
from them even not having him in their life to kind of teach them the fundamentals of manhood and to see where they are right now, that gives me such gratitude. And I look up at them sometimes and I said, those your boys, those your boys, so so all of that helps me as far as coping.
Absolutely.
And not I had to be strong for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can go back on that night at about 2 a.m. on that Sunday morning, May 30th, when I got that knock on the door. First of all, I got that phone call,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a knock on the door. And I opened that door, and it's like, the chaplain was reaching up out to me saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So immediately I knew what he was, getting ready to say. And I looked at him, I said, how can you come to my home to tell me this? And he looked at me and he said, you're a woman of great faith. Because I said, I need to call my pastor, I need to call my mom. But then I have my two sons upstairs sleeping.
Right.
So my immediate thought was, what's going to happen to my children?
Mm-hmm.
Because they had that extremely close relationship with their dad, even though they were little, with his schedule, especially for Arzell being so young, we really didn't need a babysitter because this,
Mm-hmm.
was able to care for him. Um, and so immediately it's like, oh my gosh, my kids, their dad is gone. Yes, my husband is gone, but my immediate focus was on the children,
Yes.
you know. And so raising them and being able to share with them the stories,
Mm-hmm.
being able to show them the pictures, being able to sit down with them now, especially as they got older, that helped.
Mm-hmm.
That helped. And that it didn't just help me, but it helped them to understand because there are things that they could remember, particularly the oldest one because he was 6 years old and he had more time with his dad. But then Arzell at 21 months, like he says, he only remember, snippets of things.
Right.
Being able to sit down with them and talk to them about their dad and share all these things about their dad from the beginning when he and I met to, um, that helped with the coping, helped me in the coping
Yes.
process.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and there was one thing that people may find a little funny, but I'll share this because that helped me as well. The day of his service
Mm-hmm.
was in my bathroom, and all of a sudden, this fly showed up on my mirror. And I'm looking at the fly, and the first thing that came out of my mouth, Lisa, was, "Of all things, you show up as a fly." That's the first thing that came out of my mouth. I'm like looking at this fly, and I was like, and I'm sitting there, getting myself together, and I'm talking to this fly the entire time. The fly did not move.
Really?
Stood on my mirror until I left the bathroom.
Wow.
And from that point on, I've always said, he's the fly. He came back as a fly. Sometimes we always say, oh, we want to be that fly on the wall. But he was the fly on the mirror.
He got the opportunity, right?
But and literally over time, I still, the house we were in, I sold, moved into another house.
Mm-hmm.
And here and there, when I'm going through certain things, a fly will show up in my bathroom and land on my mirror if I'm in the bathroom. And
Wow.
it's not, I mean, at least it's it may sound weird, but
Hey, no, it doesn't, because I mean, there's and I think everybody, when they lose someone, if they're connected, they're tuned into something that is letting them know. And I think, everybody has their way of letting you know, I'm okay.
yeah,
It's okay to relax a little bit. And and that's why you smile and you laugh about it. And I think that's their way of letting you know, hey, I'm good. It's okay to smile and laugh. And I love it. I love it.
I,
I love
I shared it, with my mom, and I remember when I had started working at my previous organization, there was a woman named Norma, and she and I were very, very close. And I used to tell her about the fly, and I walked out of her office, and a fly flew into her office. She called me I had gotten back to my office. She called me. She said, Lisa, there's a fly in my office. There's a fly in my office. Tony is here. Tony is here.
I love it. I love it. Because when you get that feeling, that's different from, any other moment. It's the timing, it's just the feeling you get. And then you said, yeah, you know when you know. So no, I love it and I believe it and all of that good stuff. This is a question I wanted to ask you. So you did say his name was Anthony Sean Sauce Phillips. So can you share with us where the nickname or the sauce came from? What's the sauce about?
Well, one thing, he loved hot sauce.
Okay.
What I learned from the guys at the firehouse was that he came in with his own name, his own nickname. So I understand that after they come out of the academy and get into a station, everyone is given a name, a nickname. Well,
Okay.
from my understanding, he came in with his own.
Oh.
So what some of them shared with me was they teased him about that. They called him all kinds of different, different types of sauces and stuff like that. But that name stuck with him.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he came in with his own name, and but yeah, they allowed him to stick with it.
And it can't him being from DC. It was perfect.
Exactly.
It was perfect. And you all really need to get your copy. Lisa's going to tell us how you can get a copy, but what we do want to do is let you know we're going to actually give away 2 of these copies tonight. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to another commercial break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to kind of we're going to give away some books. So Lisa's going to come up with the questions that you all have to guess for those who are on, or share with some people to hop on here so that you can get your copy. When I looked through the book, Lisa, and some of the pictures, they really help to tell the story of who he was as a firefighter, who you all were as a family. I like that you've included the boys in here. I mean, it's just, it's a wonderful book. It's very inspirational. And then I want to talk about one other thing we're going to talk about real quick before we go into a different part of Lunching with Lisa, where we talk about how people be lunching all the time. But in chapter 11, I wanted to talk a little bit about planning for the unavoidable. I wanted to get into that a little bit before we say goodbye. So we're going to go for a commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
All right.
I got my head out the sunroof, I'm blasting our favorite tunes. I only got one thing on my mind. You got me stuck on the thought of you. You're making me feel brand new. You're more than a sunshine in my eyes. You got those pretty eyes in your head, you know it. You got me dancing in my bed, so let me show it. You are exactly what I want, kinda cool and kinda not. Wanna give myself to you. Yeah, we're driving down the freeway at night.
So for you all that don't know, Shariva Smith, who's behind the scene doing amazing things, we have DSM Media, where we actually do commercials, we do social media posting, we do graphics, we do background production for shows such as Lunching with Lisa. We even have a lineup of shows. Some of our shows will be coming back and joining us, but we do background production for, we have a show that actually comes on Tuesdays. I think it's Tuesdays now. We moved to Tuesdays or Wednesdays. But she'll be coming back on board, Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul. You'll love her podcast. So we'll give you a heads up when she's going to be joining us again with Michelle Bolden Hammond. And we also have Moms We See You, and we'll let you know when they're coming back. And that's with host Tashika Green, Dr. Tashika Green, and Jacqueline Griffin. So we'll keep you posted, but we actually get front row seat behind the scenes for those amazing shows, but they have awesome guests as well. So check out our DSM Media Facebook page for those. But DSM Media is here for all of your media needs as well. So we have a good time with it. So I wanted to get back to, and Sharon, thank you so much for tuning in. Sharon's on the line. So if you have any questions about the event Saturday, please feel free to reach out to her. So I wanted to talk a little bit about chapter 11 really quick.
Yes.
On planning for the unavoidable.
Yes.
So why did you choose to add that? I think it was a wonderful addition to the book, but tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Some of us don't think about, death and what needs to be done after you have your families do after you passed away. So on the middle of May, I believe it was, Tony and I we were riding down Rhode Island Avenue, and he started to go into, if anything happens to me, then, this is what needs to be done. This is, what the fire department would do for you. And this is what they, and so on and so forth. Of course, I'm 26, you're 30. I don't want to talk about this. And lo and behold, May 30th, he's gone. Now, mind you, we're young. There's nothing in place. Yes, we were husband and wife, but there's nothing in place, no will, none of that. So that was something I wanted to include in the book for people to, prepare. Mm-hmm. I mean, that doesn't mean that you're going to pass away now. That doesn't mean, that anything will happen, but I've learned throughout the process, it's very, very important to prepare, especially if you are married, if you have children, if you have property,
Mhm.
those things, and you want to kind of make it easy for your family members to know what to do. If you have it down on paper, and that was important to me also because after Tony passed away, um, of course, the department, there were benefits that will go to my children and I, certain benefits, um, from his retirement to everything else. And I realized that what I was told was that I had to get guardianship over my children. I'm like,
Mhm.
in order for them to receive their benefits. I'm like, what? These are my children. Here's their birth certificate. Here's everything.
Right.
But by law, I had to do that, and I'm grateful that my liaison at the time was able to walk me through that process. It was a difficult process. The 26, I don't know this. I don't
Right.
know what and he walked, they walked us through the entire process with the attorneys and so on and so forth. So all I had to do was literally sign papers. In order for my children's funds to be put in a trust or an estate and so on and so forth, all of that had to be done, and I had to claim legal guardianship over my children. So if I had known all of this prior, if I had made those, if I had may have had, or Tony may have had that will and so on and so forth, I wouldn't have had to go. I would probably wouldn't have had to go through all of that.
Mhm.
But it was a process, and it was difficult also because we were going through the planning of the funeral and everything else that was going on. So, and then trying to get all of that together, all at once, it was a difficult process. And but yeah, it is very, very important. I implore everyone. I don't care who you are, what you have, what property you have, what property you don't have, but to make it easy on the family, I implore everyone to look into getting your will um, prepared. It
Absolutely.
is critical. It is critical because
I,
some people don't understand is whatever you have, if you don't have a will,
mm,
goes to the state.
mhm.
You have property and all of that, and there's no one to, you have set aside to claim those things on paper.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's going to be a battle with the state and the family and so on and so forth. So, just to make it easy
Yeah.
on both ones, it's important to do that.
I thought that was a really nice touch. I've realized, thanks to my mom, realized how important that was. And that's why when I saw that, because we don't do that enough. But I know from losing my grandmother years ago to
Yeah.
Alzheimer's, and my mother we had to prepare.
Yes.
And of course, at some point it's coming, but because she had to do it, I think for several of the family members,
Mhm.
she's, you know, well, we thought overly prepared because she has everything in order, but it made sense. It
Yes.
does,
Yeah.
it does give you those morbid kind of feelings
Right.
at times. But now that I've seen her have to do this for other people in the
Mhm.
family, I see the importance. And her whole goal was she didn't want to disrupt everyone's life.
Exactly.
Um, and it's a fact of life. It's something you have to deal with. So I
Right.
like when I saw that in your book, I thought this is a great touch because even though it's a hard thing for people to do,
Mhm.
we got to keep talking about it. We got to keep
And
talking about it.
the good thing about it is you can revise it as
Right.
time goes by.
But at least you have something to start
Right,
from, right?
exactly. That was the first thing I did after the whole burial and everything like that because it put things into perspective for me. Because
Absolutely.
I have children, so if something happens to me tomorrow, I want to make sure that they wouldn't have a problem going forward.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it is very important. It's very important.
Yeah, that was awesome. So what I want to do is I want to give away two books
Mm.
tonight. So I'm hoping that someone is on. If not, I'll check the chat, after we leave tonight. But I want to give away 2 of Lisa's books. So Lisa, first tell us, well, before we tell them where to get the book, we want to see if they can win a book, and then we will get it to you. So have you come up with 2 questions that maybe we can ask and see who might be the winner of 2 of these books here?
Sure. The first question is, how old was Tony and I, we were both of our ages, when we started?
Good one. Good one. So first question is, how old was Lysa and her husband, Anthony, when they first started? Yes. Started your family? You started your family?
Started our relationship.
Yeah, started their relationship, and then they had their first son and second. So that's the first question. And while we're seeing who gets that, what's the second question, Lysa?
The second question is, what school did I say Tony attended high school?
That's a good one. So what school did Tony go to? She mentioned it earlier in the show. So you all check that out. If you know the answer to it, then just come back, put it in the chat. Lysa will keep you posted on who comes up with it. If you all don't come up with it, she might send out some new ones, but we ain't gonna tell you yet. We want you to try to get it. So for those who win, we'll make sure that we get these books to you. So Lysa, I'll be talking with you so we can make sure we get it to the winners. Another thing that I wanted to talk about real quick before we say goodbye is, so on Lunchin with Lysa, we usually have this moment where we just kind of talk about all the things in the world that people are lunching about. So, and we like to kind of spring this on our guests, because what I encourage the guests to do is to email us and let us know about those subject matters. It could be about relationships. It could be about, your kids. It could be about all kinds of things. But what are people lunching about these days? So I wanted to ask you, Lysa, I know it's kind of on the spot, but what is something out here in the world that people are doing, or you've seen and you like, these people are, we used to say tripping back in our day, but people are lunching. So we used to lunch, right? So what you got? You got anything for us?
Yes. What is going on with all of these crazy TikTok challenges?
Oh, that's a good one.
We're frying chicken in NyQuil now.
Oh, that's like, who comes up with this stuff? And they don't realize how dangerous it is. Yeah, y'all are just playing with. That was like the cinnamon challenge a long time ago. It's like, why are you all doing this? Like, you couldn't be that bored.
And the thing is, people are so, I'm sorry to say sometimes, but people are so gullible, and you see something so silly like that and you want to partake in it. What sense does that make? I just don't understand. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I get it. Those challenges, I think these kids need to stop trying new stuff sometimes. Just enjoy the TikToks without these things you have to do and all that kind of stuff. So I get it. So I have a kind of a fun one. And I know we still every now and then do a little DoorDash or something like that. So this is what I think people are lunching about. I have not yet understood why, when it's delivered, you all put it in front of the door, so we can't open the door and get it without knocking over the drink and everything else. I don't know how many times I have looked at the driver like, really? Like, there's space on each side and you all choose right in front of the door, and then I'm inching it out. Like, why do y'all do that? So yeah, I was just like, people are really lunching. So what I wanted to do, and you all please remember, you can share this, you can go on YouTube, and you can reshare it. So we'll be constantly sharing this. So come back if you know the answer. If it kicked you out, I don't know. Some people said, I saw that someone was saying they got kicked out. If you're able to get back in, even later on the chat, and you got the answer to the question that Lysa posed, either one of those, you will get a copy of the book. But Lysa, before we go to our TikTok moment, can you please share with everybody how they can get a copy of the book, or get in touch with you, because this is not all you have going on. And before we do our TikTok moment as well, I want you to tell us about anything you have coming up.
Well, I do want to share that on Saturday, the 22nd at 9 a.m., the DC Fire and EMS are celebrating their last event of their 150th year. And included with that is going to be a 150th anniversary memorial service for all line of duty deaths.
Okay.
From my understanding, there's maybe about 101, 102, and there will be a service at the St. Patrick's Cathedral on 10th Street Northwest at 9 a.m. There will be a, a, uh, a procession, in a sense. There will be the ceremony will be a line of duty. Uh, helmets being presented, as well as I think flags in honor of all of the firefighters. So there's going to be a helmet that is going to represent each fallen firefighter.
Okay.
And so I'm going to be a speaker at that event. So I'm
Wonderful.
looking forward to that. Everyone is welcome, is open to the public. And, the families and friends, the families will be honored on that day. It's more for the families, of course. And, I'm looking forward to meeting some of the family members as well. But it's going to be, I'm praying that it's going to be a very, very memorialized service for
Okay.
these men and women.
And if you get an opportunity, please share it and tag me in it. You can
Okay.
also drop it in this chat so we can let people know to come out and support.
Yes.
We did have Sharon actually rejoined us, and I think she has an answer, but Lisa, you're gonna have to confirm. So she says the answer is 16 and 19. Is that it?
16 is correct.
Okay.
19 is not.
So
I think because I said I was 19 when so that's probably where she got that from. But you know what? I'll give it to her, Lisa.
We're gonna go ahead and give
I
it
was
to her.
16. I'm sorry, he was 20. So
okay, she came back with 20.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
share back with 20. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Give Sharon a copy of this book. So Sharon, I'll get your information. Actually, I have a bag over here with some Lunchin with Lisa things that you've already won. So I'm going to drop it in that bag and make it my job to get you this bag of goodies. Because I've been trying to dip in that bag saying, oh my goodness, but no. So Sharon, congratulations. You will get a copy. There is a second question out there for those who would like to get that second copy of Lisa's book. And you got to go back and watch the show and find out what the second question was that Lisa posed. But Sharon, tell everybody, I'm talking to Sharon. Lisa, tell everybody where they can get the book, and then we're going to go into our TikTok moment.
Yes, you can find the book on Amazon.com. You can also go to my website, Lysa Phillips, that's Lysa Phillips, PHILLIPS.com. There's a link from there also, and you will, get like a snippet of the story, as well as their videos, media posts that are on there that from the day that I prior to me releasing the book, as well as an interview with my oldest son when he became a firefighter in Arlington. So again, Amazon.com, or you can go to LysaPhillips.com. Or if you want to give me a call and want a signed copy, you can call me on 240-463-3570. And that number is also on the website.
Wonderful. So you all please stay connected with Lisa. Lisa, you know that we will stay connected. Thank you so much for coming on to Lunchin with Lisa.
Before we cut off here, I would definitely like to give props to Prince DeJour. You spoke about him for connecting us. I really, really appreciate it. He's a wonderful gentleman.
Absolutely. Yes, we give him a shout out for everything. You connected us. You do shout outs for everybody. He's just a huge supporter. And he really encourages and inspires everyone to, do wonderful things. So thank you so much, Prince Dejour, for always supporting. And Lysa, we will definitely stay in touch.
Yes.
What we're going to do now is have a TikTok on. You know, I added this to the Lunchin with Lysa platform because I'm confessing that my husband and I are people watchers, and we actually love TikTok because it's perfect for people watchers. And there's a lot of good stuff on there. And I know that the hot thing going on right now is the Little Mermaid. And I saw this TikTok and was just mesmerized with this young lady who kind of had a blind view of seeing who the mermaid was. And I thought it was absolutely adorable. So out of the mouths of babes, and encouraging us to get back to those moments when we saw things for the beauty in them, and not all this judgment. Let's take in this TikTok moment, and then we'll come back and say goodbye. But this gave me a mushy gushy feeling inside, so I wanted to share it.
All right.
That's pretty. Oh, that's pretty too. Look at that mermaid. Look at that mermaid.
Out of the sea, wish I could be
Pretty. He's pretty.
part of that world.
Look, Maya. He's like a Maya, Mommy. Like a Maya.
Oh, that's romantic. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love
Oh
it.
my God. It made my heart melt.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, it just gave you a feeling of, yeah, let's go into the weekend with that kind of feeling.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just a little person who's
Oh.
just seen something and saw the beauty in it. It
That's
wasn't
right.
any judgment. And then it's kind of good feeling to see herself. We've come a long way. I know
Yes,
sometimes
yeah.
it doesn't seem like we have, but that just seemed like the perfect energy and moment to go into the weekend with. So
Aw.
I wanted to leave you all with that. And again, thank you all for tuning in to Lunchin with Lysa every Thursday. We love our guests. We love all the stories that you share, the inspirational things that you do. You all, please go back and answer that question so you can get a book as well. And for those who don't get the question, she's also let us know where we can go get the book. You can contact her. And Lysa's going to share with us the thing that's going on Saturday. So if you all are interested and know some people who want to go out and support and honor, please check that out on Saturday. Thank you, Lysa, for sharing your story.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Yes, thank you for the platform. I really appreciate you're doing a wonderful thing for the community. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. So we'll be back next Thursday with another great guest. So until then, stay safe, enjoy, and I'm going to do it again. Happy wedding day. It's past now, but wedding day to my daughter, Mr. and Mrs. Robinson. Congratulations. I now have gained another child, a son-in-law. How about that? So see you all next Thursday.
All right. Thank you.